Today we play golf.
Let me show you how we do it in the pros.
Welcome to Behind the Golf Brand Podcast.
I never miss with the 7-iron.
A conversation with some of the most interesting innovators and entrepreneurs behind the biggest names in golf.
My friends with the golf clubs. I lived on the golf course. I lived on the driving range.
From pro talk
You should learn something from each and every single round you play.
to fun from on and off the green.
Why would you play golf if you don't play it for money?
Just let me put the ball in the hole.
This is Behind the Golf Brand Podcast with Paul Liberatore.
What's up, guys? Paul from Golfers Authority. Welcome to the Behind the Golf Brand Podcast. We're on episode 69. Yep, the big 69. Everyone stop laughing. And we are talking to my friend Kyle from Whiskers Laces. Now, Whiskers just started out in the last couple of years, and they're actually kind of a cool niche. So I'm really excited to have them on the show and talking about kind of how they grew, how Kyle got to making shoelaces, and where he's going to go with his brand. I think it's like a really special niche, and I'm excited to have him on the show. So without further ado, welcome Kyle.
Thanks for having me.
So where do you live?
Delray Beach in South Florida.
I want your exact address. No, I'm just kidding. Have you always lived there? Like, did you grow up there or something?
I actually grew up in Delray Beach, one of the few down here. And then
Oh, you're a townie?
townie, yeah, exactly. I'm a Delray townie, but I moved away for a bit. I bounced around when I was a kid. We lived in Virginia for a year, then came back to Delray. I lived in Warsaw, Poland for 2 years. Came back, and then
You live in Poland?
Poland, yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and then I went to college in
Polish?
Ithaca, in upstate. What's that?
Are you Polish? I just decided to go
No.
to Poland.
Yeah, well, my dad had a gig over there. He bought the rights to Holiday Inn, Domino's, and Burger King in most of Eastern Europe after the wall fell. And
For
so we
reals?
moved over- Yeah, so we moved
Oh,
over
that's
there
crazy.
Yeah, I was there for 2 years. He was there back and forth for 7. So
All of Eastern Europe or just like Poland?
it was Poland, Czech, Romania, and Hungary. And then that kind of
That's cool.
rolled into he started the third television station in Poland as well, because there were 2 state-owned stations, and he opened the music television station, which eventually sold to MTV. So it was a crazy time to be.
Dude, your dad's a freaking badass, dude. Like, for real?
He's
What entrepreneur.
creative, yeah, for sure.
So what year was that? Like the 90s?
Yeah, that was I think he started that in 92, and then I was over there in 94, 95.
Did you love Europe? I love Europe. I would live there in a heartbeat.
I would too. I was 7 and 8, so I would have loved anywhere, I think.
You would,
Like,
yeah, you've been
everywhere was cool.
You're watching like Teletubbies and stuff, and you're just...
Exactly.
You grew up in Florida. You moved around a little bit. Obviously, you went to college up in upstate, right? Were you good at golf? I'm obviously not a golf pro, right?
No, definitely not a pro. I grew up playing golf. Just being in South Florida was easy. I went to like golf camp as a kid, and I was never great. I was okay. Baseball was always really my passion, and when I played baseball in college, and my coach very quickly banned me
Really?
from playing golf, and so I
Because it messes up your swing, right? Blah,
yeah,
blah, blah.
weight
Yeah,
transfer is all different. Yeah,
Blah, blah, blah. I know it's somewhat true, but it's like so annoying because my kids want to play both sports, and it's never going to happen because their coach is like, oh, no, it's going to mess up your swing. I'm like, they're 9. Like, they don't have a swing.
right.
But
Yeah, you don't have anything.
it's just probably some legitimacy to it. Did you play golf in high school, or are you like crappy like everybody else? Like
No,
me?
I'm pretty crappy. I'm
crappy.
very average.
Or so you seriously like everyone lies right about their score, like, oh yeah, I shot like an 80. Bull crap. So the other day I like took my real score, like for reals.
Right.
It was not in the 80s, let me tell you that. It was like a little bit over 100, and I was like, what happened to my golf game? And it's called reality. So and now I'm like on this mission, like I want to, like, not this, I'm going to break 70 or whatever. No, man, I'm on a mission to, like, first I'm going to break 100, and then I'm going to break 90, and I'm going to break 80, like, legitimate. And I don't know, I think people tend not to tell the truth on their score. But it's
Yeah, I agree. For me, 90s is good, right? If I shoot in the 90s, that's a good round.
Well, that's the
They're
thing,
have
right?
fun.
Because at our age, like, we have kids, we have work. Like, when do you play golf? Like, once a month, if you're lucky, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's like you're good when you're younger, and you're good when you're older, essentially, is what happens.
Yeah, when you have the time.
Did you play baseball in high school?
I did, yeah. I played all the way through college, and then called it quits after college.
What position were you?
I played outfield and first base.
You must be a big dude. You'd be first baseman.
I was
No offense.
I was big in college. I'm still
probably
big. I'm
big,
just not
right?
muscular. Yeah.
We're all big in college. So what'd you play in outfield? Like center field?
I played right and left field. I wasn't fast enough for
You
center
weren't
field.
agile enough?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you'd be like super fast. Like my son, like my youngest son, like he used to play first. He's little though. And then like they put him at third, and then they put him in outfield last year. And at first I was like, what the hell? Right? Because when we were kids, it's like, oh, left field's like the worst position, right? Like you
Right,
never
yeah.
get the ball hit out there. But now like he's on a club team, and like the ball's always out in the outfield. Like it never stays in the infield, you know. And I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not so mad about that now. That's cool. But I just remember when I was a kid,
outfield.
like I love the outfield now. I'm like, oh yeah, because like literally, like his coach the other day. We lost so many games because of drop fly balls, like so many games, like free points essentially. So literally, the coach played like every practice now we do is he hits fly balls the entire practice, and they have to catch 10 in a row. And like if they don't, they start all over again. So they don't get to bat, they don't do anything fun until they can catch fly balls. And now it's like crazy how good these kids are catching fly balls. It's pretty cool.
It's a fun age, too. There's so many fun drills when you're like 9, 10, 11, 12.
When they just start like getting good, you know, like. It starts weeding out. The weed out process starts to happen. The kids that are like, good and that want to play, they're natural. Like I love watching that. It's like, holy crap. How old are your kids?
I have a 6-year-old son, a 2-year-old son, and then a 2-month-year-old daughter.
Oh crap! So you got a baby in the house. You
Yeah.
get any sleep or not really?
Actually, yeah. So the first two were a lot tougher. She's been super easy. Like she's already sleeping through the night, and I feel it's been amazing so far.
You're lucky. I remember those days. I literally remember walking around my pool table at like 2:00 in the morning trying to make my kid go back to sleep. Like I remember that.
Yeah, that was our 2-year-old. I would just like walk circles around our pool. He
Like
always had to be
nonstop.
moving. Yeah,
Just bouncing. It's okay. Go to sleep. I'm tired.
Yeah.
You know. That's when you get old, dude. That's like literally when you start getting old is when you have kids. You played high school. So you went to baseball. Did your dad play with you, or did you play with your grandpa, or anybody? Like, or when you just kind of play every once in a while? What happened there?
Yeah, I grew up. I used to drag my dad to the field. He coached me when I was a kid. I was obsessed with baseball when I was a kid. I would be at the field 6 days a week making him.
You loved it. Like you
Loved
were
it,
passionate about it. Yeah.
So I'd drag him over. He'd throw me 150 balls for batting practice every day. And so, yeah, I just grew up playing, especially in South Florida. You play all year round. So that was always my sport. I dabbled with soccer. I played golf, but really baseball was my passion.
You graduated from high school, and then you went to New York to play baseball.
Yep.
What made you decide to not go pro or try to go that route? Were you not good enough, or you were like, I don't want to do this route. It sucks.
I was pretty confident I was going to go pro, but my body was not built to to play that many games. I don't think. I herniated 2 discs in my back my junior year. I broke both my wrists my senior year. I still had
Doing
back
what?
issues.
Sliding?
Hitting, actually. So hitting in like a wood bat league, there's a hamate bone in the middle of your hand. I broke my right one, and the day I was cleared to come back, I broke my left, so I had to redshirt my senior year, and I had back.
Like, how do you
issues.
break that in your hand? The vibration?
It's just like thin. Yeah, it's the vibration of the bat that comes back, and it just like breaks off the tip of that bone in your hand. So yeah, back to back.
Painful as hell.
It's not the worst. It's just you just can't grip anything too hard.
That's crazy. You broke both your hands. That's nuts. I never even heard of that.
No, I haven't either. I think I just have really weak hamate.
You have lady
hamate
hands?
bones. Yeah,
You have lady
exactly.
hands?
They're very fragile.
Then how'd you herniate your discs? Just from playing?
Just swinging. I think the blessing and the curse of being from South Florida is you play year round, but I think taking so many swings every day that my entire life just twisting and
Like a Tiger Woods, right? Like
yeah,
his
I
back
just threw
issues
my
now,
back
like-
out. I heard it in college or in high school pretty bad. I actually had to like fake being healthy on the recruiting trail for a while, and then did it again in college and didn't want to continue.
Was there any guys you went to college with that made it pro?
Yeah, there's a lot of guys I played with, especially in South Florida. There's a lot of guys who
for
played in the big leagues and played. A couple buddies played on the Marlins, third baseman on the Orioles. Played summer ball in New England, so a lot of those guys are in the bigs right now.
That's so cool. So, all right. So, what did you do? What did you market in? Like, what was your degree in college?
So I majored in finance. I was in the hospitality school. I went to Cornell.
Cornell?
Quickly, yeah. Went to
That's
Cornell.
a damn good school.
Yeah, it was a fun time. I was in the hospitality school there, and then.
Well, you played baseball at Cornell?
I did, yeah.
Holy crap, dude! That's a big accomplishment. That's like Division One. Like, that's hard as hell, and it's a good school if you're smart. Like, it's a good school to go to. It's not like, I went to Jack Off University in middle America that no one's heard of. Like no, that's cool. All right, so go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's fine. It was fun. I mean, it was a shock, right? Growing up in South Florida, and then our first game in baseball at Cornell was snowing. And we had to shovel the field to get on the field. And down here, right in high school, we had a game, I think it was in the 40s, and we just postponed it. And just like, we'll play it next week. Don't worry about it.
I'm from Arizona, dude. Like, I went to Purdue for undergrad, and I remember that first winter, and I was like, where the hell am I? I literally thought that, like, walking to campus and like it's negative 20 out, and like shuffling your feet and just slip and fall on the ice, and I was like, what am I doing here? Like, I chose this. It
was a shock.
It's a culture shock too, right?
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was. Yeah, everything weather-wise. People. I always thought I was smart in high school because my high school wasn't all that challenging, and then I went to Cornell and realized that I'm on the lower half of the student population there. So I had to adjust my study time and the effort I put into
fraternity?
Not now.
Oh,
no. We were a band my freshman year.
You were in a band?
No. We weren't allowed. Our coach banned fraternity.
Band. I was like, you're in a band? Yeah. So, of course, you can't do anything. When you're in sports, dude, you can't do anything. Like anything.
Yeah, they changed that, luckily. So we did have a lot of guys in fraternities, but I wasn't one of them.
I remember that, like, when I was at college, I was at Purdue when, like, Drew Brees was there. And, like, I knew a lot of guys on the football team, like a ton of guys on the football team. Actually, Drew Brees was in my psychology class. It was crazy. Like, he sat in front of me, who's this kid, right? Like,
right.
And he was cool. Like, he was nice. I just remember that. He was a redshirt freshman. But I remember the guys on the football team were like, they couldn't do anything. It was like they all had to live together somehow, right? Like, they live in an apartment together, or they live in a dorm together, and then they practice all the time, right?
Yeah.
I think they're all in management. They all got management degrees. Like, what is that? I'm in management. It's like, I mean, nothing against management. I just remember everybody had management degrees.
Yeah.
They have a good management school at Purdue, apparently. So then, how long did you play baseball? Like, you guys play all 5 years, or you play 4?
Yeah, I played my first 3 redshirted, and then played my 5th. I came back for my spring semester just to play and graduate.
So, what did you graduate with?
I majored in finance, and I randomly enough, I minored in real estate law, just because I enjoyed the courses and took so many that it turned into a minor.
They literally do that for a living. Like, it's not that fun, let me tell you. It's a big mess, dude. Like, when you look at the lawyer, like, oh no, it's fun to learn in school, and then when people come to these problems, you're like, does this really happen? And it's like, it's a mess. It's like, I could tell you so many stories offline, dude, that are just like crazy. And
I'm sure. Yeah.
I have one like we have people like literally. I've had at least probably 2 or 3 cases that I've worked on where people are actually trying to do eminent domain, like the government trying to do it. I've also done adverse possession, where like if this piece of property is mine because I've sat on it for 20 years, and it's like neighbor versus neighbor. It's like the craziest crap. It's like
horrible.
You guys are literally neighbors, and you're fighting over like 10 feet of driveway. Like, no, like for reals. And it's just the dumbest stuff. It's like
half my shed has been over your fence for
no, like
years.
For reals, that happens. Like for reals, I've seen it. I've seen the dumbest stuff. It's cool, but it's dumb. It's like kids, like, oh, you're whatever, you're palm trees out on my side of the yard. It's like,
yeah. Ugh.
So you graduated from college, and then what'd you do?
So I did a very brief stint in sports marketing and consulting. I moved down to Charlotte, North Carolina. Worked for a small firm there. It was mainly, at the time, it was like consulting teams, leagues, celebrities, athletes on how to really brand strategy, and then also how to monetize their digital presence. So
really?
Some, like,
what year was
NASCAR
this?
drivers. This was in
early
2010.
Like when it really started happening? Was it just
Yeah,
ads?
like people were trying to figure out how to. We had a couple of like NASCAR drivers figuring out how to monetize their Twitter and Twitter following, and work with teams and leagues like Kansas basketball, Kentucky basketball, and pretty.
So when you
quickly
do brand strategy, like what's that? Like what is that? Like what are you doing?
So for like the programs, we would help them. Like we updated their brand, their image, their online presence. How does that translate to recruiting? What process, what content do recruits see? Kind of working with the college coaches. And then from the celebrity athlete side, it was really honing in on who they wanted to be and then figuring out how they get
Who they
there,
wanted
right?
to be.
So if you want to be a Caribbean cowboy music country singer, right? You have to associate yourself with the right brands and maybe go with different car sponsorships or alcohol sponsorships that kind of put you in that wheelhouse. So we did that for 9 months, and then 9 months in, that company basically got absorbed by Madison Square Garden. It was a small team. Yeah, the company I work for. So that whole team went up to New York. Yeah, and rather than going back up to New York, I had the opportunity of jumping on board a brand that was an idea at the time called Angel's Envy Bourbon. Really would love to say it was my idea. It wasn't. I was really the young gun that jumped on board and kind of helped the partners get the brand out of the ground and get it to market.
What are they based out of?
That company was based out of Louisville, Kentucky. There were various partners of the business, and so I traveled down to South Florida about every other week because that's where one of the core teams was. And so I really just helped get that brand out of the ground and bring it to market. And that brand was fun. It was really right place, right time. Like as the bourbon boom happened, I think when it launched, there was like 150 distilleries, and now there's 2,000 in the U.S. And so it really exploded. There was a great team there. And then
How big was the team?
The team there, well, it started small. Right when I jumped on board, there were 4 or 5 people.
So how'd you know these guys? They came to you because of what you're doing before, or just like word of mouth, or what?
So through my dad, right? So he's been kind of in tons of different industries, and so he was.
He's like Rain Man, dude. He's a rainmaker. Yeah. He like probably knows all kinds of crap.
For sure. No, he was actually one of the founding partners of Angel's Envy. So I just hopped on board as like the young guy.
That's cool.
Yeah.
But he's like, he knew you had skills, though. That's the thing. Like your dad knew, like, oh, he knows what he's doing. So like,
I think he hoped.
Come on board. Oh, don't embarrass me. I'm gonna send you back to Poland. So what year was that?
That was in 2011. That was January 2011 when I jumped on board there. And then
so how do you grow a bourbon company? Explain that to me. Like how I don't understand. I don't know spirits. I'm not gonna start one. But what do you do? I have no idea.
So you need somebody who will make it taste good, right? So you need a master distiller. Lucky enough, they kind of coaxed Lincoln Henderson, who was this kind of curmudgeon. He's been a master distiller for like 60 years. He was in the Bourbon Hall of Fame. He made Woodford Reserve and all these like iconic brands. And so he was at Jim Beam forever. And he retired, and 2 of the partners knew him and coaxed him out of retirement and said, come on board. Like, you're the only one that can make this right and do something innovative in the bourbon category. He had this whole recipe book that they wouldn't really let him play around with at the time. And so he jumped on board, starting experimenting with aging and finishing. And then his son and grandson came on board as well to help make the product. And so from there, we assembled a national sales force to help bring it to market.
But it's kind of hard, I would assume, right? Like that would be hard to break into a. I mean, you got to know a lot of people
and expensive.
Really hard,
especially whiskey, right? Because you need to start out, you need aged inventory, and then you have to build your own distillery to age it yourself as well. So it's
where did they do that at? Like in Kentucky, or what was it being made at?
In Kentucky. There's like this gorgeous distillery now in downtown Louisville for Angel's Envy. It's insane. So that brand was great. And after the launch of Angel's Envy, we formalized a spirits group as well. Started a rum brand from scratch called Papa's Pilar Rum. And so we partnered with Ernest Hemingway's family, and all their proceeds go to charity. And I spent years kind of inside of that business, helping go-to-market strategy, consumer engagement, digital strategy. That's a brand I had.
That's freaking cool. So, like, what is your role when you do that? Are you like managing? you're more of like looking at the long term view of like how to do this, or are you like in the weeds, or like what was your daily like? You know what I mean?
Sure. I think with any startup, you wear a lot of hats. And so it was everything in the beginning. It was everything from like assisting in inventory forecasting, the fundraising, to building out go-to-market plans with the brand manager as well, who kind of manages all of the areas of the business. And then I really found a passion on the digital strategy side and consumer engagement, getting close to consumers. How do you build communities with folks, get them excited about the brand and what's in it for them? And so that's really where I dove deep with that.
You loved it, right? Like that's where you felt like, I mean, yeah, you wear many hats, but that's where you felt like, oh, this is cool. This is what I want to do. This is what matters. I 100% like. I'm so fascinated by this. I'll talk to you about this offline. I think that's like the smartest thing I've heard in a long time. It's 100% true. Like people ask, like, how do you grow anything, right? And it's like you gotta have a community. If you don't have a community, then you don't have anything. It's all fake, right? Like, oh, I can buy ads, or I can run traffic, or it's all bulk. It's all that's just like not long term. That's like right now, and then
easily
so you see people like, oh, I made so much money with my Shopify store, blah blah blah. It's like, yeah, but you spent $50,000 to make $60,000 on ads. So like, how smart was that?
Yeah, exactly.
I think it's cool as hell. Like, I have a friend of mine who has a very strong community on his brand. I'll talk about later, and it's not in this space, but like it's exactly what he did, and it's like his community is like so strong, dude. And like, I don't know. That's why YouTubers do so well, right? Because they have a community. Like a real subscriber on YouTube, like that's your community, one person at a time. And like, if you grow that right, like it's hard to do. I mean, people only get to see like the tip of the iceberg and be like, oh yeah, but then it's like, so no, I love this. So like, if you're a brand, so how do you build community? Like don't go into big detail, but like, how does one do that?
It's easier when it's natural, right? So like Papa's Pilar is very nautical. It has the Ernest Hemingway partnership and tie to it. So it kind of gave the brand authenticity into a lot of these communities that other brands don't have authenticity to enter. So it's very nautical forward. And
it's Hemingway, it's the South, it's South Florida, it's the,
conservation based, and it's pretty easy once you get into those communities, and especially most of the team on Papa's Pilar, and myself included, grew up on the water. And so it very quickly amassed a pretty large nautical following, and then has since been kind of expanding into the more adventure side, land and nautical. But then it's just, what do you tell them? What do you say to them? Making sure it just feels right? Making sure that once they enter the community, they get something out of it rather than
not being sold. They're not being sold on garbage, right? Like, oh, we get you, and then it's like, no, we're trying to bring you in to take advantage of you.
Buy our stuff,
So what year did that come out?
So that launched in 2014. So
was your dad on
2013, 2014?
Was your dad like an investor on that, or like how'd you get in on that one?
Yeah, so he's big in the spirits world. So he's a partner there, and then he's acquired the company. Mahalo Spirits Group is the name of the company. After Angel's Envy sold in 2015 to Bacardi, that business acquired another whiskey, a gin, a tequila, and has been just growing those businesses internally.
Rinse, repeat. Like, you guys know what you're doing. I mean, seriously, that's a good thing, because you have a very good track record, right? And you know what you're doing and how to do it. So it doesn't matter. You could be selling beer. You could have been selling whatever, Jello shots. I don't know. I mean, I was like,
that's a harder one, yeah.
I don't know. No, that might be a hard one. But I haven't had Jello shot in forever. I don't know the last time I had a Jello shot. I don't know. I went there, but you're like, whatever, dude. I drink Jello shots every day.
Every Thursday, yeah.
Like right before I had this show, I was doing Jello shots in here, with my own spirits company.
No, and the spirits has been fun, right? It's that.
Hell yeah, dude! It'd be fun. Like, seriously, like, how fun would that be?
That industry's changed so much in the last 12 years.
How?
It's just grown up a lot. There were, I think, cultures
old established brands like that have been around forever, like.
Exactly, and And they admit, right, the Bacardis and the Beams and the Diageo, like the big players in the space, they'll admit that they're not very good at growing new brands. They're good at taking brands that have scale and traction and then plugging them into their network and letting them grow from there.
Corporate America. Right?
Exactly.
It's like any
Pharma
other
or
product.
Yeah.
Like,
so that's where the opportunity was, and it still is. Now there's just thousands of people in the space, and it's harder to sort through the clutter because there's so many brands regionally. But it's fun, and I helped start an agency to help brands with digital strategy in that alcoholic beverage world. And then,
so you have that too, or are you still in that, or no?
No, I mean, I help out on high level strategy there, but really my time's on Whiskers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's your time. It's crazy to see like over 10 years, right? Like what you're doing 10 years ago to now and how much you've learned. Like you would never, like seriously, like what's your major? Like finance? Like that's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I know lots of people have finance degrees and they're not doing finance. Like who does finance, right? Like, but it's like, dude, I want to freaking undergrad to be a pilot. Like I'm not flying an airplane, but it's cool to see. So like essentially you went from like, I mean, did you intern in college to like even get into that world, or how'd you initially, or you just stumbled on it?
So I did 3 internships in college. One was Morgan Stanley. So I thought I wanted to be just go into private equity.
And then what'd you think after that? Oh, then at times like the worst time to be in it.
It was horrible. And I would like lunch breaks, I would go nap in the car.
Did you have a cubicle or an office? Hold on. Did you have a cubicle?
Yeah.
I know. I've been there too, dude. Like you want your soul to be sucked out of you? Like that's literally what happens, right? You come out of college, you think you're hard ass, you think you're all cool, you have a degree, and they put you in a cubicle and you're like, and you look around, you hear like the lights flickering and it's like dimly lit and you have one screen and they're like, okay, do your TPT reports. Or whatever, like
right. Yeah. And so I did Morgan Stanley. The second internship I had, I worked for a hedge fund in 2008 that was dealing in subprime mortgage lending. Who was
shut up? You are not
part of
that's like the worst industry to be in. Like literally, like you.
My third week in, everything crashed. So I was sitting there.
It's like you're only like in this big room and it's just your cubicle because you're not getting paid and everyone else is gone because they're all like scattered like rats.
It was crazy. So my first 3 weeks there, it was literally like out of the movie where I would analyze mortgages in these groups and then tell them why it shouldn't be rated a C, why it should be a B or an A. And I didn't know what I was doing at the time. I was just in college.
You no damn clue. Then, like you're just like
there's no idea. And then it crashed. And so the next 5 weeks, I just sat there. And they're like, "We don't have time to give you anything. We're trying to figure out what's going on." So
they're trying to figure out like how to not lose all their money.
It was that was chaos. And my last
call your dad and be like, "I don't think this is the right industry for me to be in."
Yeah, it was crazy. So that was kind of a turn off on that side of things. And then my last internship was in an experiential marketing firm. So I did that my semester off.
What's that?
It's like field marketing. So they did a lot of like sampling for brands like Bacardi or Boris, like in-store sampling. They'll set up.
Oh yeah. Did you work at like Safeway and like give out like pieces of ham and stuff and like, hey, check this out?
I did a lot of the like reporting, so I would do like
oh good, okay, I was making sure like you weren't the old lady at Costco giving out food.
Sampling, no.
You're like, no, I wasn't a sample person.
But it was fun. I found that's kind of where I found a passion for digital strategy. Is and after I graduated, I consulted them for a bit on how to take new tools and technologies and plug them into such an old industry that's very just liquid to lips or taste this product. And so that's kind of where I found the passion.
You got a little taste of it yourself and you're like, oh, this is kind of cool. So then when you graduated, you went to that one place, right, in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. And then, I mean, it's kind of cool because it's kind of building on top of each other, really, essentially. So then both the spirits companies sold, right? And then
just Angel's Envy sold. And so Papa's Pilar still one. Yeah, Angel's Envy sold to Bacardi. And then Papa's Pilar is still run independently. That brand's doing well on its own. But yeah, that's where I lived, was that spirits world for a while. always had a passion for early stage brand building. So that's where I really love to dig in and figuring out kind of where these white
You're
spaces
super
are.
nimble, right? Because you're so nimble. It's like you're early on in the process, so like everything, you can do anything you want, right? Trying to figure out what will actually be the right thing instead of being like farther back on the line. You're like, okay, well, this is the thing that works, right? And then they're just putting all their time into that.
Exactly. And everything's it changes so quickly. And at the time, I think it was interesting, especially in the spirits world, because it's so outdated. But I just had fun thinking through ways of how do you outsmart rather than outspend the big guys.
It's a game. It's a game.
It is. Yeah, it is.
That's why I tell people this whole thing's a game. It's fun because it's a big ass game. It really, I mean, it's work, but it's fun. But it's a game, and it's like you're the underdog, right? Like you really are. I mean, I know who my competitors are, and they're huge. So it's like, you know, but probably you found too. They're like dinosaurs. They take forever to move. It's all corporate America bullcrap, and like, yeah, I mean, it's funny because what's happening now. I'll just tell you, probably know this, but like what's happening now is, you know, it kind of started with when Barstool got bought out, right? Like, essentially what's happening is corporate America is not trying to buy into this, right? Because like, I mean, you've probably seen it with whatever with what you've done, but like I'm seeing it with like YouTubers, I'm seeing it with brands. It's like, I don't know if they're just not innovative enough to do it themselves, and so they want to grab it and then push it further. Like you're saying, like how Bacardi does it or whoever else. Like I'm seeing it now in the digital age, like when it comes to content and mainly just content, really. I don't know about hard goods. Probably with hard goods too. I just can't think of it at the top of my head. But definitely with digital. Definitely digital. What I think is
where almost
interesting.
Everything is going. Yeah, especially in consumer products. Absolutely, right? All the big guys just wait for the smaller ones to pop their heads up and show some signs of promise, and then they acquire them and figure out how they grow them.
I mean, you've seen that, right? You've already seen it. So it's like,
yeah.
I mean, we do M&A deals at our firm, and we used a really big M&A deal, like hundreds of $1 million, right? And like, but it's the same damn thing. It's like big corporation buys little company for hundreds of millions of dollars because they're like, oh, you guys do X, then we want to be able to get into X, so we're going to just buy you, and then you're stuck here with us for a couple of years, and then you can bail, right? But then it's like they see the potential, so they're like, oh, but it's more about what it's really worth now, right? Than and the future value later on.
Yeah.
So when did you decide to start your own thing?
So I was always fascinated by the sock revolution, right? I was like always a crazy sock guy, and I watched that category go from black, white, commodity-driven replacement socks to what it is today, because there were brands.
When did
like
that happen, do you think? Because I know exactly what you're talking about. Like what year?
So,
happening?
Like 2015, 2016, I think is when I started really noticing it and started tracking. Like Stance was always and still is like a North Star brand of ours. I think they did a great job of just growing a community and a brand and create a movement. And then Bombas and Happy Socks, some of the other guys really just pushed that whole category into just a statement of self-expression, not necessarily just a replacement.
Do you think socks, this is a general question, do you think socks is what pushed what's happening now with other products? You know what I mean? Like, before everything, look at polo shirts, right? Like everyone had a polo shirt. It was like the one with the horse on it. You never saw a pattern ever, right? If you did, it was like some weird, like you never saw. You saw like you would see like fuchsia and weird blues or something like that, but you never see like anything with a pattern. And then it's like now you're in the last. I mean, I think when it comes to polos, I think like Bad Birdie is the one that really like took it to the next level and made it like legit, right? And not everyone's copying them, but at least in the golf space. Yeah. But do you think that's where expressionism started? It was around the same time with socks. I think it is. Yeah. Until you said that, I'm like, that's probably what it was. Like something small scale that there's not a lot of risk. And it's like, I know what it costs to make a pair of socks. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, it's huge.
I don't know if it may have started it, right? If it didn't start it happened at the same time.
But I can't think of anything else before that. Until you said that, I honestly can't. Like, and I'm like, oh yeah, that was.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's been this whole culture shift of wanting to stand out and really have a statement of self-expression, whether it be a loud polo or socks or laces or belt or watch straps, like everything's kind of gone towards that personalization.
Do you think it's a generational thing? Do you think it's like it's the whatever age group, or do you think it's everybody? I don't know.
I think it's turned into everybody. Right? I think it started with the younger. Like I think it probably started with millennials,
like in the 20s, right? Probably late 20s. Yeah,
I think that's influenced the older generation as well, right? The older generation looks to the younger one on what's going on. A lot of times, especially
no damn clue.
When it comes to fashion. So yeah, absolutely. I think it started younger and has pushed up, and I think everybody, and it's moved that way almost across the board in all industries, right? When it comes,
because you're a strategy guy. I didn't know anything about you, so like you're all about strategies. I know you know this stuff. Like, it's what's happening now though is those 25-year-olds are now 35, right? Or 30, and they're going to the next phase of their life, and so it's moving into more mainstream America in terms of products, right? Like I would think.
But even now, like 35-year-olds are looking down to the 20. Like I know my wife the other day was like, "How are skinny jeans out?" And apparently these are no longer a thing, and so that'll shift up and push up as well. It's just interesting to see it all move.
Dude, well, I grew up in the 90s, right? So now it's like, oh, 90s music is cool. I'm like, thank God. Like I love it. My wife and I listen to it all the time, right? Like I remember going to that Third Eye Blind concert in 1999. You know, like, well, just I don't know. I think it's happening with golf, especially. Like you see it as a microcosm, only because it was so boring, right? Like everything was boring. It was like solids, and that's it. I mean, then you got brands like G4 that comes out that have like really nice higher end stuff. But when it came to like pattern, or it was about 2016, 2017, you started seeing patterns come in. You know, like brands like Palm started doing like designs on the fingertips and on the wrist. You know, Asher is taken to another level of gloves too, because now they have like different kinds of, you know, they came out with like a skeleton glove, and then they came out with like, you start seeing more and more, and that's when the shirts came out. You know, with Bad Birdie. Well, actually, Bad Birdie came out. I think Bad Birdie really hit it. It was like 2 years ago. That's when they like. But based on my own, what I've seen.
You see that big, in golf especially, right? Everything is being customized: head covers, gloves, socks, pants.
Dude, bro, we got so much to talk to after the show. It's not even funny. Like 100%. I know lots of brands that. This is what I think. Honestly, it's all about the customization, right? Right now, it's almost like. Yeah. People want to stand out no matter what they do. And it's always been like that. It's just that you never had the ability to do it until now, I think.
No.
So then what year did you decide to do your own thing?
So that 2017 is when the idea of shoelaces popped up.
So why shoelaces?
I was always fascinated with socks. And then I was in Austin actually visiting my brother-in-law. I was lacing up a pair of Cole Haans and my laces broke. And then he was like, man, those would look great with some light blue laces. And then I went on this mission to find some light blue shoelaces, and I couldn't find them. And when I did, they were the cheapest version of a shoelace you could find that I knew would rip in like 3 months. And that's when it clicked of like, well, one, I got really excited about the potential of kind of disrupting the shoelace category, creating new designs with weaves and sublimated laces and going out there. So I went down this rabbit hole of shoelaces, trying to pull all the data I could of who's out there, who's doing it well, what are the barriers.
Market research, right? Like who's the players in shoelaces, which there probably wasn't that many, right? I would not.
No, there's very few. There's Kiwi is the one, right? The one you'll see at pharmacies and supermarkets where you can get your cheap
old man shoelaces, like the brown or the black
brown lace. Right, they're really the only player that has scale, and there's a few in sneakers that are providing Jordan laces and Yeezy lace. Like there's a few in that sneakerhead world, but there really wasn't anybody. Oh yeah, sneakerheads for sure. It's its own world. There wasn't anybody that was kind of addressing all the categories and going after shoelace as a whole. And so I was lucky enough. This was in late 2017. I met. Mike Gossett, who's my co-founder, and he spent 20 years at Nike and 5 years at Crocs in product. He was at Crocs at the time, and I pitched him Whiskers, and he immediately fell in love with the idea.
How'd you know him?
Jumped on board. He was a friend of a friend, so I knew somebody who worked at Crocs and introduced us, and yeah, lucky enough. I knew I didn't have
Like, you know who
jobs.
of him, but not him, I guess? Is that what? Did you already know who he was or not really? Or somebody's introduced you as a friend of a friend and you're like, oh, you do that? That's cool.
No, yeah, I didn't know who he was. I basically just pitched my friend who was at Crocs just because he was at Crocs. And I said, this is a shoelace concept. What do you think? Where can I make them? Do you have any relationships? So he introduced me to Mike. And so Mike jumped on. He's been really the visionary behind all of our product. And he's brilliant, right? He's the only one I know that like geeks out over like Pantone colors of the season and figures out like what's coming next. And so he's really created the stories and the launches behind all of our categories. So we started, our first full month was January 2018, and it was a site that I built myself, and we had very limited SKUs because we were waiting on products to be made, and we were thrilled, right? We sold 100 pairs month one, and we're like, we're doing this, and probably 60 of them were like family and friends.
99 was you, and then
like test orders. But we were.
Dude, I got a lot of those too myself. Like, you do your numbers at the end of the year, and you're like, oh, I had a really good February, and then you realize like, oh, I bought all that. Like,
right, gifts, yeah. But no, we were pumped, right? It was working. We had people like coming in, and then April 2018, and we started in dress shoelaces. I don't know if I told you that. So we launched just in dress shoelaces, very intentionally knowing we can launch with a universal length, which is 33 inches. We can disrupt really that black-brown dress shoe category.
everybody has. Yeah.
Yeah,
like,
everybody has them in their closet. Everybody needs them. There's no way to kind of differentiate your feet when you're wearing dress shoes other than some stitching and if they're wingtips or cap toe. Like,
yeah.
That's really it. And so we saw great momentum. Like April 2018, we really started to see it hockey stick. And December 2018, we were selling. There were days we were selling over 1,000 pairs a day, and we had this tiny little office in Delray, and we started taking over the whole like office complex, trying to get orders out. So our neighbors hated us, and so it was a fun year one. And then 2019,
it hockey sticked for a while, going the opposite direction. Because no one was buying shoelaces. Because no one's going to work.
Yeah, well, 2020 was interesting, right?
2020, sorry.
We dabbled in like dress boots. We actually did a golf test because we quickly learned when we launched our dress laces, we needed consumer feedback because like our aglet size was like 0.5 millimeters too thick for some Cole Haan shoes that apparently everybody owned. So we had to make new product, adjust, send free laces out.
You don't know. You would never know that.
Yeah. The testing is a lot. So we rely heavily on consumers. And so 2019, we threw some tests out there in dress boots and golf. 2020, we had huge plans, especially in golf. And then March of 2020 hit and people stopped wearing shoes, let alone shoelaces. So we had to adjust heavily on kind of messaging, really work on, and I think it was a blessing, right? We really worked on our community, our customers, our brand. We transitioned our production from overseas. We found a great partner in North Carolina. So they're making all our laces are now made in the U.S.
For not much more than you're paying for in China. Like, that's the thing, right? Like,
yeah, and the lead times are cut way down, and they've been an amazing partner. Just innovation-wise, we can test new weaves and styles and materials with them. So they've been great. And then really end of last year is when we
it's almost like 2020 was like the year of reflection, right? Because like if you think about it, because if you're hockey stick growth, you're just running, right? Like at this point, you're trying to get like you don't have any time to think. I mean, really, right? Like, and so then it's like when 20 hit, it was like reassess. Okay, like what matters? Because if you've probably seen it with the other brands you've done, it's not burnout, but it's almost like you don't have time to like figure out what the next steps are. You're just like, oh, we'll make these socks. Oh, we'll make these laces. Oh, make these laces. We'll make these laces. Oh, we gotta get these out. Blah blah blah. Yeah. And then it's like, it's gonna be like a flash in the pan, right? And it's done. It's almost like, and back to community, right? Because you probably would have not spent any time on community because you're just trying to make sales, essentially, right? Or actually, not even make sales, like fulfill sales.
It was trying to keep up, right? And that's when 2020 happened. That's what we said is like, let's make sure we become a brand and not a product. Like we want to actually mean something to people and not just be shoelaces. Like we know what we stood for.
We're not Kiwi, right? Yeah. Like Kiwi's like no, I'm nothing against them, but we don't want to be those guys.
Yeah. So it was fun. I think I was proud of our team. We have a small team, but I was proud we were able to.
How big is your team?
There's 4 of us full time. It's all hands on deck come holiday season when it's
Dude,
fulfillment
that's how big
time.
my team is. I mean, it's just like,
and
it's like 6. But...
It's funny because people don't know how small we are. So we'll get like Julia does customer service and operations and fulfillment for us. So she'll get an email like, "Hey, your factory must have shipped these to the wrong address," and she's like, "Well, I'm our factory, and I dropped them off yesterday." But they just don't understand how small we are. So it's been fun to have that.
Dude, I spent almost half of last year fulfilling orders myself out of my garage. Like, I was talking to another friend of mine who owns a golf club company, and I was telling him about it. And I was like, "Hey, do you want to do my fulfillment for me?" And he's like, "No, man, we can't. We're too busy right now." I was like, "Oh, crap." But, like, it's a lot of work. It's, like, so much time. It's a lot of work. Like, it's a lot of work.
You have to be organized and have a system. Otherwise, it's just so much wasted time and paper and it's
weighing it and printing labels out and blah blah blah, and like it's not easy. People, like, here's the thing, people think that it's easy. I mean, anybody can make a brand and put it up on the internet in like 5 minutes. Like, it's not hard. You know, you can find a supplier in China on Alibaba. You can make a Shopify store, whatever it is you want to sell. You can open up social media accounts and you can run ads. Like, anybody can do that. If you have some capital, you can do all that, no problem. You know, but then it's like where the rubber meets the road is like everything else, you know?
Which is a lot, right? I never thought shoelaces would be so complicated, but a lot goes into it. It was a learning experience. The first shipment we had actually came to the Miami port, and I had no idea what I was doing.
Did you have to pay all the like tariffs and all that bull crap?
Yeah, like going through that.
How much you have to pay in tariffs?
Crazy.
A ton.
It was I think it was 10%.
So much money. My buddy told me a story once. I'm not gonna tell you who it is, and he said like that happened to him, and he ordered a bunch of product. You know, he went through what do they call those guys? The middleman. Anyways, yeah, it was Miami Airport. They shipped it all in. Dude, you know how much his tariffs were? $25,000.
Oh.
Like, and he didn't have $25,000. So suddenly all his product is sitting at the airport. He can't even get hit all on his credit card, right?
Oh man.
And they don't tell you these things, you know.
No, it's so much to learn because I've never been through that experience. I drove down to the Miami like seaport in my car, thinking, "Hey, yeah, I'll pick it up." And I got in line.
I'll pick it up.
It was me sitting in between like 6 semi trucks in my like Subaru SUV, and I get to the front of the line, and the guy radios it in. And he's like, "He's here for order number whatever it was." And he's like, "He's in a car, like a real car." I was like, "Uh-oh." And so I drove. I had to stand on the roof of the car just to get up to the port, and I like loaded it with shoelaces, and they were still
how big was it? Like huge?
I quickly learned there were 12,000 pairs we ordered, and I quickly learned I could fit 12,000 pairs of shoelaces in my car because we ran out and we still had like 1,000 left, and I was dumping them through the sunroof of my car, and I'm just like driving home covered in shoelaces, bringing them back.
Like a crazy Florida person, like driving to some kind of shoelace fetish.
It didn't stand out at all down here. Yeah.
No, it wouldn't. That'd be a normal day.
Exactly.
Maybe you're in Orlando. I guess, like, where do your customers come from?
So it's
percentages, would you say?
So we do a lot from social, more and more word of mouth. So we've seen just year over year, right? We have our return customer rate has gone up a ton. It started at like 8%, and
that's free work. That's free business right there, man.
Yeah, I mean, we're over 40% now over the last probably 3-4 months, and so a lot of repeat customers. And then it's kind of how do we get new people in and aware of the brand. That's our biggest challenge. Has just been
social. Is that the best way?
Social, yeah, social has been big for us. Just visually being able to show people shoelaces, because if you don't know that the shoelace brand exists, you're not looking for it. And so really showing the right content to folks has been key for us. It's just getting that content out there and letting them know that we exist, and you can actually upgrade your laces with better designs and more durable laces.
Are you guys on Amazon or no?
We are. Yeah, we're on Amazon. We postponed Amazon for a while, and our philosophy.
It was like, you want to deal with the devil? Like,
oh,
I mean,
man.
like,
they're a lot to work with. But really, we said we wouldn't get on Amazon until competitors were bidding against our name. And so as soon as we saw people running ads
Interesting
against
concept of
searches
doing that.
on Whiskers, then we hopped on board. So more of a defensive than an offensive strategy.
So you mean competitors like competitor shoelace companies or competitors on Amazon?
Competitor shoelace companies. Which on Amazon there's everything.
That's a freaking cool way of thinking about that. That's really cool. See, like when do you make that move? And that was a good decision. Like, okay, when we actually see people bidding against our keyword, then we know we're doing something right, because now they're. I was thinking some shady ass shit when people do that. I mean, you can do it because Google doesn't care. As long as you pay them, they'll do whatever it takes. Yeah. What I hate is this. What I hate, just bullshit, is like Amazon will run ads on Google with your keyword. Yeah. For Amazon, and it's not like Paul Liberatore competing against you and I'm selling your shoelaces. It's like Amazon, the company, is spending $bazillion dollars running ads against every company that they can find to get people to go back to Amazon, which is so effing shady. Like,
they're so tough, yeah. And if you're a product that makes it, they just create a product in the same category at a cheaper price. It's a cheaper product, but
Amazon choice.
Yeah, they just take up that lower kind of price point for you. And
I mean, I love Amazon for a million reasons, but these are reasons I don't like them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
as a consumer, I love them.
Yeah, as a consumer. As a business, it's like, I can tell you so many cool stories. Like, Amazon's a whole beast. It's like everyone has to, I guess one thing, and you probably know this too, is like every platform has its own, is a beast in itself in order to master it. Like, and Amazon is its own thing, right? Like, when did you guys jump on Amazon then?
This was actually, funny story on Amazon. So we jumped on board Amazon in 2019, in like April 2019. And then in June 2019, we got kicked off of Amazon. And
for what?
So it was like a 2-month process to even figure out why.
Yeah.
Just because
they tell you
customer
nothing.
Service is insane. And they say that too. I got an email one morning, and Amazon was killing it for us. And then they just shut it off. I got an email saying you are no longer able to sell Whiskers on Amazon. You're terminated indefinitely, and no further reason will be supplied. And so we went back and forth. I called everybody I could think of at Amazon and got nowhere. We had attorneys at Amazon we knew, and they couldn't figure it out. And so turns out my wife had an account in like 2009 and sold one book. And their policy is you're allowed one seller account per household for life. And so they just said, so my IP was linked to hers, and they said her account is yours.
Really?
You can't have another one. So they kicked it off.
But they don't tell you that?
Didn't tell us that. So I finally figured that out. And then I emailed on a Hail Mary, because if you watch any interview with like Jeff Bezos, he would always say, hey, email me. I check my emails. And so I emailed Jeff at Amazon with like a catchy header and told him what was going on. I included a team picture. I'm like, we're just a shoelace company trying to sell shoelaces, and this is killing us. And then 3 weeks later, I got an email from his assistant, one of his assistants, saying, Jeff has read your email. Your account is now reactivated. And it was like, we all just went out and like partied.
Hell yeah. Well, see, like I'm an Amazon influencer, right, that's what they call it. And so like that happened to me. It happens all the time. They will take down my stuff, like my video or whatever, and not tell me, right? So then I'll go into my account, and then people have been up there for a long time, and I'll go there and it'll be like rejected, like other like randos, right? And I'm like, what the F? Now you can go into the video and see why, and you can cursor over, and it says the product you link to in this video is not the product in your video. And I'm like, dude, yeah, it is. Like it's the XYZ thing, and that's the XYZ video. Like, did you not even watch it? It's the exact same thing, like verbatim, right? And they did for like, this happened like 2 weeks. I was so freaking pissed. They did for 10 of my videos. Do you know how much time it takes to like re-upload all your videos, put up all your graphics, tag all the right stuff? It took like, I had to go back to my team and say, hey, I can't find that video. Where's that video at? It's on the folder. Like I wasted probably 10 hours doing it, and they gave me no rhyme or reason as to why they did it. Because somebody decided that it wasn't the same product. Dude, do you know how to watch TV? I mean, like seriously, like it was like this yellow pencil, and they'd be like, no, it's a green pencil, and it's not gonna. But it's called the same company. No, so it happens all the time.
It's a beast, yeah. But yeah, luckily we're back on.
Hell yeah, it's kind of cool. Jeff Bezos like actually did something about it.
Yeah. So if you need anything, let me know. I can just email.
I'm gonna call you as soon as they kick me off my account for talking crap. They're gonna be like, "Oh, Kyle knows Jeff. I'm gonna call Kyle. Kyle, email Jeff for me."
Yeah, exactly.
Make a sad picture of me. You like superimpose me into a picture of your team. Like, oh, we're a little shoelace company. I'm like,
that was our last effort too. It was sort of like, let's include.
well, yeah, what were you gonna do? That was literally your Hail Mary, right?
Yeah. So
yeah, you can't find anybody over there. The problem too is like, you can talk to customer service about whatever the problem is. I mean, and you'll get one answer from one different person. Like everyone has a different answer. It's not like this is the policy X, Y, Z. What was really cool is I'm gonna give them credit for this though. This is what's kind of cool. So like when I first like started putting my videos up on Amazon, like I published a bunch of them on Amazon, and then like a week later they freaking did the same thing. They turned off my account. They're like, you cannot do this, blah 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 blah. And I was like, what the hell? And I sent them an email, and I was like, it took like 2 or 3 emails, like different people, and I'm like, can you just please tell me what I did wrong? 'Cause I don't know what I did wrong. Like, just tell me, and I'll fix it. And I'm sorry. Like, please tell me. And then finally it said, somebody was nice enough over there saying, this is our. They didn't go into a policy, but they're like, this is why you're on the system, why you're being kicked off. You have to do X, Y, Z. I'm like, all right, no problem. I'll never do that again. And it was something so stupid. You know what it was? Like, you can't tell people to come off of Amazon. So you can't be like, oh, here's the pen. Check out the pen review at golfersauthority.com. Like, you can't do that. Like, I didn't know that was the rule. I guess I didn't read the whole 40 pages of terms and conditions. So, like, I just cut all that out. And it was like, oh, here's the pen. Thank you. Or whatever it was. But, I mean, I get it. It's their platform. You want them to, like, 100% I understand. But nobody tells you that. They just turn it off. It's like...
there's so many rules, like knowing what you can include, especially if you're looking for reviews or sending thank yous, like making sure you don't have your own brand site. There's a lot.
I didn't even know any of that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know any of that. I know like it's tricky. And the same thing, I have like an Amazon account, and I like literally sold my law books like 10 years ago. Like you buy all these law school books, and then you're like, I'll get some money back from them, right? And of course, it's my wife's account, and now I'm like, I think I'm all sketched out, dude. Now I'm like, if I open another account, they're gonna do the same thing to me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Careful with multiple accounts.
So then, are you in green grass then right now?
In terms of just retail
stores, retail.
Yeah, we have about 70 independent retailers to date.
How do you find an independent retailer? How do you do that? You have sales team?
No, so we just started outbound sales, really just internally. All of the 70 have just been inbound. They're folks who saw us online and then reached out to see if they could carry our laces. And it's everywhere from menswear shops to country clubs to barber shops. And really, we just try to test where the laces did well. And so right now we're talking to a few national retailers in the golf side, actually a lot of different courses and country clubs and resorts. And so over the next 90 days or so, we should be in probably upwards of another 80 to 100 in the golf space.
Do you make a golf specific lace? Or
we do. Yeah. So
tell me about that.
So part of the way we wanted to approach the category and why we wanted to be different is there's all these other shoelace competitors out there. And usually the way they went about it was you'd get the same lace and they'd say, here's 33 for dress, here's 45 for sneaker, or here's 54 for boot. It's the same exact lace. And so one thing I thought Mike was just a genius on is really concepting, if we want to go about this differently in the right way, let's make sure every collection has a story. It has a place in the closet. There's a purpose for it to exist. And so that's what happened with our first launch with dress is we wanted to make sure we hit the right styles and colors and dress. And then when we released our golf collection in late last year, Q4 last year, is we wanted to hit all kind of the key golf colors. And so right now we have 2 different styles in golf, and that'll expand quite a bit this year. We have our sneak.
Dude, you can do so much crap, dude. It's not even funny. And especially if you can get like a collab with like a golf shoe company, like that's popular, and be like, hey, we can make a shoelace for you guys. Not a big one, not like a FootJoy, but like the smaller, like a True Linkswear, or like somebody who's has a, I consider them good shoe companies. They're not the big boys. Like that's huge. Right? Like,
it'd be great.
Because then you get loyalty. Like, I guess like at this point, it's almost like if you could do collabs, that'd be really cool.
Yeah, and we are talking. We actually tested one with Palm. We did like a golf crate where it included a 3-pack of our laces, a pair of one of their gloves, their towel, their ball marker. And that did really well for us. And so we're looking at other brands that have this similar mentality. And I think just learning from golfers what they're matching up. A lot of golfers will match laces with polos or belts or golf gloves. And so we want to kind of give those options. So our golf laces are different. We have 2 different styles. One for the more classic, like dressier FootJoy type shoe, which is our round lace. And then for the more athletic style shoe, we have 45-inch oval and flat laces. And we just launched 42 new colors 2 weeks ago, all solids. Mainly, we wanted to get all the basics
every
covered,
shade of the spectrum, right?
everything covered. And then we have some big plans this year. We have some sublimated laces, some different designs. That'll be a lot of fun.
Do you think one day you could do like custom laces? Is that where you want to take it? Like people could actually like come to you and say, I'm getting married and I want these kick-ass. I mean, okay, it's $30 a shoelace, right? Or whatever. But have you guys ever thought about that?
We've thought about custom. I think maybe way down the road. We have so much on like our product roadmap right now that we want to get covered. And then once we get there, I think we'll start to figure out exactly where we expand. But we've seen these past few months, past really 4 months in golf, it's been incredible. It's a great community. It's an insanely small world. And so doors just keep opening, and we're talking to some of the larger retailers and some of the top 50 courses across the country to see. For those guys, we are looking to create some custom laces with their colors and some different boxes. So it'll be a fun year for us.
So when you say box, like what's the box? Is it a collab and it's a special box with everything in there? Yeah,
you can see our laces all come in this little, it's like just a tiny box, and then they all come wrapped around the spool here. Right, you can see.
I like Kiwi's packaging better.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
We get that a lot.
I don't. I'm just totally kidding. I get that a lot. Yeah, we're probably gonna go the Kiwi style, the bubble mailer and like.
Yeah, exactly.
I like how you guys do it though. It's kind of cool because it's like it looks very classy. I mean, it's not like, oh, here's your shoelaces in a bubble packaging. It's like, oh, look, it's like an experience. Like, I think it's really
and
smart.
we wanted to educate folks, right, what the product is. So we have all the product features that all our polyester comes from recycled plastic water bottles. It's made in the U.S. and our
that was a huge move to come in the United States. That's huge. I mean, honestly,
that was big, and I wish we could have said that we saw the pandemic coming, but we were just a few months ahead of it, luckily, and supply chain wise, it's been just a godsend that we.
I mean, here's what I feel like. If you buy stuff overseas, like it's cheaper, but at the end of the day, like how much? Well, first of all, you have to find the right manufacturer in the United States. It's not an easy job, right?
No.
But if you can, it's like, the margins are not as great, but then it's like you don't have all the risk, right? You don't have to wait all this time. It's not stuck on a boat. It's not stuck on a plane. That's kind of a problem.
When we first launched, we actually spoke to every lace manufacturer in North America, and we got turned down by everyone just because we were going about it so differently. We wanted custom aglets, which is the end of the shoelace, and we wanted different weaves and materials. And so we even spoke to our current partner pre-launch, and they said no. And once they saw what we were doing, they got excited about it and have invested.
It's one thing is talk, the other thing is actually doing, right? And then they're like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, then they got excited about it. It's harder to sell somebody on an idea. Especially
PowerPoint.
Did they have to retool then, or not really?
Yeah, they've actually invested in machinery just for us around the way we're packaged, the aglets, some new weaves we're testing out. So they've been amazing.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I can't believe who would have thought shoelaces? Like seriously, I think it's brilliant. I mean, honestly, but I mean, now that I know you and know how you did it, like from before and. You guys do really well. I mean, you guys already are. You're gonna start seeing like custom shoelaces with everybody. I bet you $1 million. I mean, it's all about the small custom-y stuff. Like, what does it cost for a pair of shoelaces? I have no idea.
It's $14.99 per pair.
Wow.
And then we have a 5-pack, buy 4 get your 5th free, so it's $60 for 5.
That's really cool. Where can people find you guys?
So our website, Whiskers Laces, just whiskerslaces.com, is really the best place to find us.
How'd you come up with the name Whiskers?
I wish there was like a beautiful story behind it. We played around with a lot of names when we were first testing, and I'm horrendous at names. I'm not a naming guru by any means.
Yeah.
And the name just popped up one day. I forget. I think actually my dad, said Whiskers, and that's when everyone was like, "That's it. Like that feels right." Because we wanted a brand that was a little more modern. That was you could remember, and we did a lot of consumer testing after that. We tested like our top 3 names, and Whiskers always had a reaction, whether it be positive or negative. But either way, people remembered it, and so we went with that. Right, whatever, and just invokes some sort of feeling.
No, that's I think it's a smart name. Well, that's awesome. I mean, I really appreciate you being on the show today. I think, like I said, you guys are in a very interesting place, and honestly, I just think you guys are gonna blow up. I mean, it'll be a matter.
Thank you.
I mean, you kind of are doing pretty well, but like it's an unknown market, and then it's like when you start telling me something, I'm like, oh yeah, you'll be everywhere. I mean, just because it's an accessory, right? And accessories always do well. They don't cost a lot of money for people, and they'll especially if you get into golf shops and stuff like that, man. Like that's an afterthought. Like if they're just seeing some cool like whatever, they'll just grab it for $15 or whatever. I think it's
a subtle pop of color, right? You can stand out without really just being kicked out. Right? It's not loud pants. It's you can be loud with your laces, and it's still this small accent to your wardrobe.
Yeah, especially if you can match it up with something else like a towel or style wise. I don't know, like just. It's not gimmicky. Let's put it that way. It's more like classy, but it's kind of, I don't know. I think it's really cool. So, thank you for being on the show. I'm glad I got to meet you. I think it's really cool what you're doing. I hope to be doing more with you guys. I know we kind of talked about it. I will see you all guys in the next episode.
Thanks for listening to another episode of Behind the Golf Brand Podcast.
You're gonna beat me at golf?
Stay connected on and off the show by visiting golfersauthority.com. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a comment.
Golf is always more fun when you win.
Stay out of the beach and see you on the green.